Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel Study Assiduously. This is my fifth video in the series of ancient Indian history, and today we are going to discuss the topic the Vedic age. Today we will be covering the Rig Vedic age, and in my next video I will be updating about the later Vedic age. So if you guys want my videos notification, then please subscribe my channel and press the bell icon. Also like and share my videos. So let's get started without wasting any more time. So the Vedic age is divided into two phases, the Rig Vedic age and the later Vedic age, which dates from circa 1500 to 500 BC. As I told you, I will be discussing about the Rig Vedic in this video. Let's get started. Before that, I would like to discuss some points. In my last video, I discussed about Harappan culture. So the Vedic age follows the Harappan culture, and the Vedic age gets its reconstruction from or derives its name from the Vedic texts as its sources. So Vedic age is named after the Vedic texts. So let's get started with the Rig Vedic age. The Rig Vedic culture dates from circa 1500 to 1000 BC and is also known as the early Vedic civilization. So Veda is derived from the word Vid. Veda is derived from the word Vid. Vid means to know or knowledge. It was believed that these Vedas were transmitted from generation to generation orally and not in any kind of writing until very late. And traditionally people also believe that the Vedas were recited by God himself to the humans who used to listen them and then pass on to their other generations. So Vedas are considered to be Shruti. Shruti means which has been heard. Okay, Vedas are considered to be Shruti. Now Veda has four parts. What are the four parts of the Vedas? Samhita, Brahmana, Aranyaka and Upanishad. We'll discuss about these later. First let us discuss about the four Vedas. The four Vedas are the Rig Veda, Samveda, Yajurved and Atharva Ved. Let's discuss about them one by one. First of all, let us take up Rig Veda. Rig Veda has 1028 hymns and 10 mandals. Mandal means books. Mandal means books. So the Rig Veda has 1028 hymns which are divided into 10 mandals. Now let's discuss about these mandals. Mandal 2 to 7 are also called the family books. Mandal 8 is related to Kanva's family. Mandal 9 is a compilation of the Soma hymns. Mandal 1 and 10 were the later additions and it contains the Purusha Sukta, which explains the four Varnas. This Purusha Sukta explains the four Varnas. It explains the four Varnas, okay. Here also we find mention about priests and they were known as Kotri or Motri. And the Upveda of the Rig Veda is the Ayurveda. It's surviving recension. Recension means Shakha. Okay. Recension means Shakha. Its surviving recension is the Shakala Shakha. Okay. After that, let us shift to the Samveda. Now this has 1810 melodies. They are in the form of songs, and it also contains the very famous Dhrupada Raga, which was later sung by Tansen. It contains the famous Dhrupada Raga, which was later sung by Tansen. The Upveda of Rig Veda was Ayurveda. Similarly, the Upveda of Samveda is Gandharva Veda. Remember the Upvedas of every Veda, it is important. Recension again, इसकी शाखाएं हम देख लेते हैं. इसकी शाखाएं है कौथुमा, जैमिनिया, तालावकारा और रनायनिया. Okay, these are the shakhas or the recensions of the Samveda. Let's shift on to the Yajurved. Yajurved what does Yajurved contains? It deals with the procedure for performance of sacrifices. Okay, it deals with procedure for performance of sacrifices. And Yajurved texts are divided into two parts. First is Shukla Yajurved or White Yajurved or Vajasanya, and these contains only the mantras. Two important mantras are Madhyandina and Kanva dissensions. Okay, it contains only mantras, and two important are Madhyandina and Kanva dissensions. Similarly, another text is the Krishna Yajurved or the Black Yajurved. This is Shukla means white Yajurved and Krishna means black Yajurved. Okay, it contains both mantras and proses. It contains both mantras and proses, whereas this Shukla Yajurved contained only the mantras. It also contains Kathaka, Maithrayani, Taittiriya, Kapisthala dissensions. The Shakha or dissensions of the Yajurveda are Kathaka, Maithrayani, Taittiriya and Kapisthala, and the Upveda of Yajurveda is the Dhanurved. Now let's shift to the Atharvaved. It contains the magic spells and the charms. Atharvaved contains magic spells and charms. It has 20 kandas. Kandas means or kands means the books. Here again this means books. In Rig Ved we saw mandals means books. In Atharvaved kandas means books. Okay. Books. It contains 20 kandas and 711 hymns. It contains the Gopatha Brahmana. It contains the Gopatha Brahmana, and its recensions or shakhas are Shaunaka and Papa Lada, and its Upveda is Shilpa Veda. So remember the four Vedas and their Upanishads. Upanishad of Rig Ved was Ayurved. Upanishad of Samved was Gandharva Ved. Upveda of Yajurved was Dhanurved, and Upveda of Atharvaved is Shilpa Ved. Okay. Now let us go on. What is Brahmanas, Samhitas, Aranyakas, and the Upanishads. Before that, I would like to say you all that these notes are in the form of short notes. Okay, and they will be very helpful for you in time of revision. So I would suggest every one of you to just not see the video but also note it down. Write each and every slide. It will be very useful for you, as you can just revise this before your exam, and it is very accurate to the syllabus, so you won't need to study anything else. So what is Samhita? First let us see what is Samhita. Samhita means to put together or to be joined in a union. It also means collection. Okay, so let's start with Brahmanas. Samhita is nothing but collection. Okay, now let us see what are Brahmanas. The Brahmanas describe the rules for the performance of sacrificial ceremony. It contains the rules, and most important Brahmana is the Satpatha Brahmana, which is contained in the Yajurveda. It is very complex. Okay, this is very complex. Why? Because it contains several parts. It has hundreds sacred parts. It is a very complex book. Let me put it that way. Next are the Aranyakas. Aranyakas are forest books. Why are they so called? Because it is believed that they were mainly written by hermits who were living in the jungles for their pupils. Okay, and it deals with philosophy and mysticism. If you are talking about a forest is full of mystery. It is full of mysticism. So it was written by the hermits who resided in the forest, and they are about philosophy and mysticism. Okay, the concluding portion of the Brahmanas. So they Aranyakas are considered to be the concluding portion of the Brahmanas, and they interpret the rituals. The Brahmanas mention the rituals, and the Aranyakas interpret the rituals in a very philosophical way. Next are the Upanishads. Upanishads literally means to sit near someone. This gives the concept of Atman and Brahman. As I taught you in my first or second video, I think when I was teaching prehistoric India, it means Atman means reaching your ultimate self. Okay, ultimate self means having the knowledge of the self. And this Upanishads give us a unison or union between Atman and Brahman. Brahman means God, that is the superior over soul. Atman and Brahman's union is given in the Upanishad. Now let's see some facts. The Mandukyopanishad, Satyamev Jayate, is the largest Upanishad. Okay, the Mandukyopanishad, Satyamev Jayate, is the largest Upanishad, and the Chandogya Upanishad mentions the first three ashrams and the three types of marriage. Sorry, two types of marriage. So the Chandogya Upanishad mentions the first three ashrams and two types of marriage. What are the two types of marriage? Anulom marriage. It is important, okay? Anulom marriage and Pratilom marriage. Anulom marriage means the marriage of a man in his own varna or below his varna, okay? And it was the most accepted and common form of marriage in the society during the Vedic times. And Pratilom marriage was the marriage of a girl or woman in a varna lower than her own varna, okay? And this was not sanctioned by the Vedas. So Anulom marriage was accepted by the Vedas, whereas Pratilom marriage wasn't sanctioned by the Vedas. Next, let's see some more terms. Vedanta. The end of Vedas is termed as Vedanta, and it consists of the final aim of Vedas. Then Vedanga. What are Vedangas? They are the limbs of Vedas and are supplementary texts. Generally, it is said that Vedas were, as I told you before, that Vedas were recited by God himself, and the humans heard them orally and then passed on to their other generations. Means Vedas were Shruti. But it is believed that Vedanga, that is the limbs of Vedas, were the supplementary texts, and they are of human origin. Means they were not recited by God, they were of human origin, and they are known as the sutras. There are 6 sutras. Let us see what are the 6 sutras. Shiksha means phonetics, Kalpa, ritualistic science. Here Kalpa Sutra is also divided into 3. What are they? Shrota Sutra, Griya Sutra and Dharma Sutra. Shrota Sutra is concerned with Vedic sacrifices that require 3 or more fires. Griya Sutra is concerned with comparatively simpler domestic sacrifices which require only 1 fire. It includes rituals pertaining to crucial life stages such as Upanayana, Vivaha and Antyeshti. Upanayana means initiation, Vivaha means marriage, and Antyeshti means funeral practices. And the Dharma Sutra is concerned with the rituals of Dharma. Okay. Then is the Jyotisha. Jyotisha means astronomy, Vyakaran means grammar, Nirukta means etymology, and Chanda means metrics. If I am fast, then please slow down the speed and then listen to them carefully. And if you have any doubts or you have missed anything in the video, like you couldn't understand something, then please ask me in the comments. I will definitely look into your doubts and I'll definitely solve them as soon as possible. Okay. So after that, there are Puranas. Puranas were the Brahminical and social religious values. The emergence and development of Hindu religious practices were dated back to the Puranas. It discusses 5 topics in time span of 4 ages or yugas. The 4 ages are the Satya Yuga, Treta Yuga, Dwapara Yuga and the Kali Yuga. The Satya Yuga, here is a picture of the 4 ages. You can see Satya Yuga, meditation on Lord Vishnu. Satya Yuga was totally based on meditation. Treta Yuga was performing the sacrifices. Then Dwapara Yuga was building elaborate temple and worshipping there. And then the Kali Yuga, which is the current age. chanting the holy names of God. Right now we do that only. So, what are the 5 topics which are discussed in these 4 ages? They are Sarga. Sarga means creation of world. It deals with the creation of world. Pratisarga means recreation. Manvantras means periods of various people or manus. Vamsha means genealogies of god and rishis. Last is the Vamshanu Charitra. Vamshanu Charitra. Vamshanu Charitra were the texts which related to the royal dynasties. Not only one, but both the important royal dynasties, that were the Suryavanshas and the Suryavanshis and the Chandravanshis. The Vamshanu Charita related to both Suryavanshis. Suryavanshis means they claim their descent from the sun, and Chandravanshis who claim their descent from the moon. Okay. Traditionally, it is believed that the Puranas were composed by Vyasa. Now let's see some important things, that the Puranas are also then divided into 18 Mahapuranas. Okay, Mahapuranas or Great Puranas. What are they? 18 Mahapuranas. Let us see. The 18 Mahapuranas are Brahma, Vishnu, Narad, Bhagavata, Padma, Garuda, Varaha, Matsya, Kurma, Linga, Shiva, Skanda, Agni and Vamana. These are the 18 Mahapuranas. Some of the 18 Mahapuranas. All 18 I have not mentioned. What are the important ones I have mentioned? These are the important Mahapuranas in which the Puranas are divided into. Next is the Dharma Shastra. Dharma Shastra deals with the righteous moral law. It deals with the righteous moral law. Here, the Varnas were divided into 4: Brahmanas, Kshatriyas, Vaishyas and Shudras. But in this Dharma Shastra, according to Dharma Shastra, the Brahmanas, Kshatriyas and Vaishyas are considered to be Dvija, that is twice born, as they had the right to conduct the sacred thread ceremony, जिसे हम हिंदी में जनेऊ भी कहते हैं. But the Shudras weren't allowed this. There are 4 ashramas that divide the lifespan of a Dvija man. What are they? Let's see. Brahmacharya. Brahmacharya means their student life. Grihastha. Grihastha means their household life, like getting married and that family life. Vanaprastha, that is partial renunciation. They used to go to the forests, leaving their family behind. And then lastly is sannyasa, that is complete renunciation, means completely living all the pleasures and all the comforts of life and living as a sannyasi. And lastly we have epics. Epics are Ramayana and Mahabharata. There's important and interesting thing about these epics is that both the Ramayana and Mahabharata knew about the existence of each other. As in Mahabharata, we find the mention of Ramopakyana, that means the story of Rama and Ramayana, and detailed story of Rama. And and in Ramayana we find the mention of Kurus and Hastinapur. But anyways, Ramayana doesn't mention the war of Mahabharata. Next, let's see some aspects of the Rigvedic culture. First of all, let's see the political life of the Rigvedic Aryans. They were a tribal society and led a semi-nomadic life. Aryan tribes were called Janas. Their chiefs was known as Gopati or Gopa. Gopati means protector of cows. Gopati or Gopa means protector of cows. From here you can see one thing, that cows were very important for the Vedic people. Okay, we'll see it later on also. Their chief was Gopati or Gopa, means the protector of cows, and their chief queen was known as Mahisi. Okay, their society was monarchical somewhat, but the Gopati's office was not hereditary and it was elected by members of a Samiti. Important tribal assemblies here are the Sabha, Samiti, Vidatha and Gana. The Sabha was a smaller body which meant for elites, okay, only for high ranked people. Samiti was a broad based folk assembly presided over by the Rajan. The Vidatha was tribal assembly with diverse functions, and the Gana was assembly or a troop. Now let's see some important people or some important functionaries. There was Purohit. Purohit was the priest. Okay. Then is the Senani. Senani was the chief of the army. Then we have Gramini. Gramini was leader of the village and fighting unit. Then we have Vrajapati. Then we have Vrajapati. The Vrajapati was the officer who controlled the territory. Here one important term, Bali. Bali was a voluntary contribution offered to the chief by the people. The people used to offer a voluntary contribution, means they used to give it on their own will to the chief. Two battles were fought, one with the pre-Aryans. Pre-Aryans they referred to as Dasas or Dasyus, and another among themselves. Okay. A battle occurred between the Bharat king Divodasa, who was the winner, and Dasa ruler Sambhara. And another battle of 10 kings, that is Dashrajana. It was fought between Bharat chief Sudas, grandson of Divodasa, and they were the winner. Okay. Bharat chief Sudas and grandson of Divodasa were on one side, and 10 other tribes were on the other side. Next, their social life. Their social unit was based on too much unity and brotherhood. Their basic social unit was Kulla or family. The head of the family was Kulapa. Generally, joint families existed, which were patriarchal, means the male dominated. And this system was that family of part of larger grouping, namely clan, wish or clan. So the family was a part of a larger grouping. There were many families. Okay, there are many families. 1, 2, 3, 4. So many families. Okay, these are all families, and this entire family was grouped together, and they were known as vis or clan. Women had important position. Instances of levirate and widow remarriage. Levirate means when your husband dies, you marry his younger brother. Okay, marrying the husband's younger brother on his death. And widow remarriage were there. There was no caste distinction, and occupation was also not based on birth. It was according to your talent, but there existed some form of varna or color that was basis of initial distinction. Okay, so they referred to the non-Vedic people as the Dasyus or Dasas, and they distinguished themselves from them. And the Dasas were also referred to as Evrata, that is, who do not obey the ordinances of God, and Ekratu, who does not perform sacrifices. And there was some kind of slavery, existence of some kind of slavery. Next, Rig Vedic economy. The economy was more or less pastoral, and cattle rearing was very prevalent. Trade and commerce was Myaga. The currency was Niksha, which was made of gold. Barter system existed, and cow was an important unit of value. As I told you, we'll see the importance of cow in their age. There was no regular revenue system. There was prestations, there were gifts were exchanged and redistributed. That is known as prestations. Please write these down. They are very important terms. Shifting agriculture was practiced. Yana and barley were two major crops. The fields were known as kshetra, and the krishi referred to ploughing. Wooden plough was used, which was known as phala, langala or sira. Vedic god Indra, who was known as Urvarajit, was a winner of fertile lands, and Kshetrapati was guardian of deity agricultural fields. Guardian deity of agricultural fields. This is an important point. Please learn it. We find mention of a word ayas. Ayas refers to copper and bronze. Here also we don't find any mention about iron. About iron we find no mention. Craft making was also prevalent. We see many kind of cart making, carpentry, tanning, sewing and weaving. Some important transportation systems were bullock carts, horse chariots, boats. We find mention of boats and samudra, that is sea. We find the mention of boats and sea. Boats were known as now, and Sea was known as Samudra. Then religion. There were no temples and no idol worship. They worshipped in open air through yajnas, and they referred cow as Agnya. Agnya means it is not supposed to be killed. Cow was very important, as I already told you. Their head himself was known as Gopa or Gopati, means protector of cows. Secondly, cow was also uh, important value. It considered important value for exchange, and it was Agnya, means it shouldn't be killed. Let's see some of their gods. First of all, Indra. Indra was their greatest god, and most probably 250 hymns are attributed to him. He is also known as Purandhar, means breaker of forts, Maghavan, means bounteous, and Vritrahan, means slayer of chaos. Next, Agni. Agni is the second most important god after Indra, and we know that Agni is the god of fire. If Indra had 250 hymns dedicated to him, here Agni has 200 hymns attributed to him. Agni is referred to as the son of earth and heaven, and he is also referred to as the intermediary between God and men. After that, Varuna. Varuna, we know it is related to water. The third most important god is the god of personified water. He looked after the cosmic order, ethically the highest of all Rigvedic gods. He was ethically the highest of all Rigvedic gods, but the greatest god was Indra only. Next is Soma. Soma is the god of plants, king of gods, special god of the Brahmanas. All the hymns of 11 mandals are assigned to him. Aryans knew in the Rig Veda, I told you that 11 mandals. Aryans knew Himalaya, that they referred to Himalaya as Munjavat, as the source of the Soma plant, and they considered Soma the wise god who inspires poets to compose hymns. Then we have Yama. We know Yama is the lord of death. Then there is Rudra. Rudra is a immoral archer or archer god whose arrows brought diseases. Okay, he was an immoral archer whose arrows brought diseases. He lived in the mountains and the guardian of healing herbs. He resembled Greek god Apollo and identified as Proto-Shiva. Pushan. Pushan was god of jungle paths, herdsmen and cattle. He aided the transformation of day to night and vice versa. Surya was the son of Dyaus, who drives away darkness and spreads light. Then Savitri is the solar deity to whom famous Gayatri mantra is attributed to in the third mandal of Rig Veda. This is very important. Okay. First of all, where do we find Gayatri mantra? We find Gayatri mantra in the third mandal or the third book of the Rig Veda. And the Gayatri mantra is dedicated to which god? It is dedicated to goddess Savitri. Then there is Aditi. Aditi is the goddess of eternity and the mother of the gods, who invoked to bestow freedom from evil, harm and sickness. Then Prithvi, we know, is earth goddess. Then is Vishnu. He is a benevolent god but mentioned very frequently in Rig Veda. Then is the Marutas. This is son of Rudra who personified storms. Son of Rudra is the Marutas. Then is Vayu. Vayu, you know, wind. God of wind is known as Vayu. Ashwins are the twin gods of war and fertility. Then is Usha, who is the god of dawn and is mentioned around 300 times in the Rigvedic hymns. Then last is Sinivali, who bestows children. Next is the demigods. Some are the demigods. Let's see who are there. Gandharvas, who were the divine musicians. Apsaras, who were the mistresses of gods. Vishwadevas, intermediate deities. And Aryaman, that is the guardian of compacts and marriages. That's all for our today's lecture. Today we have studied the Rigvedic culture. In the next video I am going to upload the later Vedic age. I hope you all liked my video. If you did, then please give me your feedback. Please like and subscribe my channel, my videos, and share them as much as possible. Please show some support. Thank you so much. And one more thing, I'm telling it repeatedly, that just don't see the videos, please write them as well, because you will get questions from this, because they are accurately with the syllabus. There's nothing outside syllabus and I'm covering the entire syllabus. Okay, so please, please, please study them properly. I'm sure all the questions, if all the questions will come from this only. You can see the syllabus, you can recheck it yourself as well. So thank you so much.